Good evening to our listening audience. This is, of course, another Tuesday evening, and most of you are ardent listeners, not only in St. Kitts and Nevis, the region, but throughout the globe via YouTube and Facebook. It would not be a regular evening where the heavyweight panel would be empaneled, but this, of course, is another organization, which is the Community Development Organization, and they are here this evening. And we will try and get some information. They will be disseminating information to us as a community, and we hope that the information that they would divulge would, of course, make our community much better. And like I said, those of us who are listening, those of you who are listening on YouTube and throughout the Caribbean Basin, we ask you to stay with us. This evening, of course, is quite different, as I have said earlier. So please do not expect all the time you'll get the same menu from the mics of Vaughan Radio. This evening's a little different. Here with me, community development, and I would imagine that the director, Janet Maloney, and as we go anti-clockwise, we will introduce the other guests. Good evening, Ms. Maloney.
Good
Welcome
evening.
again to the mic of Vaughan Radio.
Thank
And
you.
you got an opportunity now to say all you can, as you have always wanted. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Mr. Stanley. And of course, I'm happy for this opportunity.
Praise the Lord. We've got on her left Pastor Delroy Josiah, Minister of Religion,
Pleasant good evening.
and the famous Ruth Powell. I guess those who get email, those of you who get email all the time from her organization, she's here with us this evening. And is this your first time here
This is the first time on Vaughan Radio.
on Vaughan
yes.
Radio? Okay. There's a saying that all black people look alike, but it seems as though it is also true that all white people look alike, because there's another lady who came on the program some years before, and she looked so much like you. That's why I asked the question if it's your first time. Good evening, Mrs. Powell.
Good evening. And to me, I have a problem with facial recognition, so just about everybody looks alike to me.
And to top it off, Superintendent of Police, Lyndon David. Good evening, Super.
Good evening to everyone. Good evening, sir. Thanks for having me this evening.
Quite well. But what I would like is for Ms. Maloney to give us an overview as to what we are, who we are, with reference to community development. And along the way, I might add a few things by asking a few other questions.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Stanley. And I just want to say a pleasant good evening to all.
Or
of
maybe
you.
we should have done it the other way. Bring Ms. Powell in, Pastor, and then get through to the two, should I say, heavier weights, simply because of the association, governmental association, so much information in these departments.
No problem. We can start with the lady.
So we apologize for switching things around. In this regard, Mrs. Powell, please disseminate information to our community regarding Nevis, St. Kitts, and the wider world, of course. I remembered maybe my mother, who's practically white, was born here, but I believe you are from another jurisdiction. But welcome again to Nevis as part of our evolving culture.
Well, thank you, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to live here on Nevis. And I'm grateful for the welcome we get from the people here and the friendship that we receive. I'm not exactly sure what you would like me to add. I have a short statement about who we are, the Foundation for Social Concerns. Would you like to hear that?
Everything you've got, anything and everything you've got. We've got 2 hours, so we've got plenty of time. So as you get your pieces together,
Okay.
we'll go around periodically.
I have a statement here. The Foundation for Social Concerns, formerly called Save SKN, was founded in response to the rising crime, specifically in Nevis and generally in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. In our search for solutions, it has become obvious that without social justice, there will be no solution to rising crime. A society that does not provide justice for all its members will be susceptible to rising criminal behavior. Social justice includes access to fair and non-discriminatory judicial system, equal acceptance of all individuals regardless of race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or financial position, equal treatment of each member of the society in terms of respect and dignity. All persons should be entitled to food, clothing, shelter, and dignity, regardless of race, religion, general sexual orientation, or financial position. Therefore, the role of the Foundation for Social Concerns extends to seeking justice and judicial and social justice for all.
Very well. And how long since you've been a part of the Nevis Historic and Cultural Historic Foundation?
I think that we have been paid members for the past 2 years. I'm not entirely sure, but we signed up for a 5-year membership when my husband and I joined.
Oh, very well. Well, I know that it's been an organization that has done a lot of work here for Nevis, most of which I agree, and sometimes with reference to the development of our community. At times you have put some real restrictions on us as a young society, and those especially who are in the business arena. Sometimes your department, your organization would say you can do this, but you can't do this. And it does sometimes become restrictive. But at the same time, we must have guidelines from good organizations like the Nevis Historic and Conservation Society.
Well, my husband and I are actually limited members. We pay the dues. We don't take part in the formulation of the ideas and such. Basically, we are very interested in history and like to see the conservation of historical sites, and both from a point of interest to the community and interest to tourists.
Before this gets lost in the fray, let me just say that it would be nice to put a bridge between St. Kitts and Nevis. And I'll get back through to you regarding that and where the organization stands. Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening. Well, good evening to the folks listening in Radio Land. Of course, you know I represent the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And what we'll be doing this evening is just disseminating some information as regards to the social ills in society and how the various stakeholders respond and give support to individuals who become victims. Now, the Seventh-day Adventist Church speaks out and joins with other persons and groups in bringing an end to violence. Violence can be in very sinister forms as well as it can be in very simple forms. But the statistics over the world have shown that particularly women and girls are the main victims of violence. And so the church speaks out against all acts of violence, but particularly very sensitive when it comes to women and girls. Actions or threats likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering are incompatible with biblical ethics and Christian morality. Such actions include, but are not limited to, family violence, rape, female genital mutilation, honor killings, dowry murders, manipulation, denial of personal liberty, and coercion are also acts of abuse and violence. To such things, the Seventh-day Adventist Church says, let's end it now. And anyone who raises the voice to say, end it now, the Seventh-day Adventist Church is not particular. We will join with you to end violence.
Very well. Now, you mentioned violence against women and girls. We do know that that is the greater part in our
Yes.
society, but there is maybe the downside with reference to the opposite, because some of us as men, we do get abused too, but more so you would hear the information that is disseminated, asking the society to bring to the sharp focus, into sharp focus, the abuse of women and girls, and not men and boys. And sometimes we do get abused terribly.
I
But
rather suspect.
we would leave that for another conversation.
All right, I'll leave the suspicion.
Good evening again, Mrs. Maloney. How are you doing? And
I'm fine, thanks.
the mic is yours.
Okay, tonight I just want to mention that the topic that we are discussing tonight, community responsiveness to societal issues, is tied in to our theme for celebrating Community Development Month, the month of May, community empowerment through active participation and good governance. I just want to make mention of the key terms, just to give a little breakdown as it relates to our topic tonight, community responsiveness to societal issues. The term community refers to a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. For others, community can be defined as having a sense of place, community members sharing interests and perspective, and have social ties with each other. Our communities evolve from a sense of a shared purpose. For the purpose of our discussion tonight, responsiveness can refer to as saying or doing something as a reaction to something or someone, especially in a quick or positive way. And then we move on to social issue or societal issues, and I just want to give a definition for that term as well for viewers. A social issue is a problem that influences a considerably number of individuals within a society. It is often the consequence of factors extending beyond an individual's control and is the source of a conflicting opinion on the grounds of what is perceived as a morally just personal life or societal order. What is an example of a social issue? It can range from a simple example of immigration or someone who's against immigration. It can be poverty, it can be employment, it can be crime, and the list goes on and on. Coming back to community participation, and why the topic tonight is so important is that community participation is one of the key ingredients of an empowered community, and a community that will be willing to be proactive to mitigate against crime and violence and other social issues that affect our community. And it entails active citizen involvement in all aspects of strategic plan development and implementation of project and program. And it also speaks to your contribution to your community and your participation in the virtual community through advocacy, feedback, helping others, and co-innovation activities. It's considered to be an empowerment tool, community participation, in which local communities can take responsibility in identifying and addressing societal issues through collaboration with different stakeholders in the community, including local government. Community participation to mitigate against social issues enables people to realize their rights to participate in problem-solving and decision-making processes regarding issues that affect their day-to-day life in the communities that they live in. So tonight we are really looking at how are we responding to societal issues as a community, as an individual community.
Very well. We'll take a break and then we will bring to the fore, or to the mic, Superintendent Lyndon David. We'll take a break and we'll be back.
What's coming? The new family of EC Polymer Notes.
What is different about these notes?
The feel.
Polymer notes are made from a thin plastic film which makes the notes feel smoother than the paper notes.
The orientation.
The notes have a portrait orientation. You will read the notes from top to bottom instead of left to right as you do with the paper notes.
Unique tactile feature.
The front of each note has raised bumps at the top left-hand corner. These bumps form shapes that are familiar to you.
Holographic foil strip.
This feature is on the $20, $50, and $100. When you tilt the notes, the images and colors in this section will change.
New image on the $50.
The back of the $50 bears the image of former governor of the ECCB, the late Honorable Sir K. Dwight Venner.
New signature.
All the notes bear the signature of the current governor, Timothy N.J. Antwine.
EC Polymer Notes. Cleaner, safer, stronger.
Yes, we are back. Superintendent Lyndon David, you can speak to the people of Vaughan Radio and indeed the world. And this is not your first time at Vaughan Radio, and I know that you have quite a lot to say as one of the leaders in our society in quite a critical department, the police. Please, Superintendent.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd just like to say that when I look at the panelists here this evening is that we have a good cross-section. And one of the things we are moving into, and we have already done so, is community policing. And when I look at this is a partnership we are speaking of in terms of, first, to prevent crime. And then, if crime happens, to detect crime. And once we have a perpetrator or perpetrators, to take them before the court to ensure that justice is done. So we have the good cross-section here so that we can ensure that our listening audience can understand what we're dealing with. Well, let me start with what are the effects of crime on the victim and the close families. So to understand the reaction of victims to the criminal justice and to be able to best support victims, we need to know the effects of crimes on victims. So let us look at a victim of a crime may possibly experience many different kinds of effects. And we can look at direct cost, and we have inconvenience due to theft or damage to property, and include time off from work, depending on what is lost. Physical effects of injury through violent crime. We know we have robberies, we have rape, we have woundings, we have even murder. Guilt at having become a victim of a crime and feeling one could have prevented it. There are many people become a victim, they say, I should have done this, I should have done that. And they blame themselves. We have the psychological effect, and we look at anger, depression, fear, which in serious cases can cause sleeplessness, flashbacks to the offense or post-traumatic stress disorder. Feelings of anxiety through shock that such a thing has happened, and worries about re-victimization. We know some people, once they were victimized, they say, will it happen again? And sometimes they may not leave their homes and go other places. So, they look at also loss of trust in one's community and society, and even sometimes in neighbors, depending on if it's a resident who did it. And if it is a female who was raped, mistrust of men. You no longer can trust men. And say abuse. If it is a father abuse you may have a problem to authoritative figures and so forth. And we also look at limiting one's social life or work life, or changing one's lifestyle by not going to places like where crime occur and afraid to go out and get together with other people because they're unease, fear of re-victimization. Taking extra crime preventive measures. So, for example, someone may have in their house a number of locks on the door to prevent themselves from going out and serious burglar bars. But then in case of an emergency fire, you're trapped within and you die. And we look at dealing with insurance claims. Some people try to defraud. And for those whom the crime is reported to the police and other parts of the criminal justice system, we look at it is almost impossible to predict exactly what effects an individual will suffer. People react very differently to a similar offense, and whereas a person may be seriously affected, another might experience only a minor or short-term effect. So the effects of crime can be felt not only by the individual who the criminal justice system treats as the direct victim, but also family members and close friends. You know, we have seen in our society if someone gets shot and killed or was robbed. One, suppose that person is the breadwinner. That's a problem. Two, you have mourning and so forth for a long time. A little child come up, heard about it, know who the person is, and then may become a perpetrator to the person who's suspected or who was found guilty of whatever offense. Now, having said all of that, it is very important for our entire federation to understand that the Royal St. Kitts Nevis Police Force is therefore, we're there to protect you. And we have demonstrated it through various activities. We look at our vigorous patrols. You can see our patrols throughout the federation. Stop and searches. We know sometimes some persons, they say, oh, I'm a law-abiding citizen, but why do you stop me? Go look for the real criminal. But we just can't look for them only. We have to ensure that the entire population feeling what the police is doing. So no one can say, oh, you're victimizing me. So we're doing our job to help protect you. So we're seeking for your support. We have walkthroughs. So we walk through various communities, meet and greet persons, give crime tip here, give crime tip there. We have vehicular checkpoints for various traffic offenses. No lights or one light, no number plate, heavily tinted vehicles and unlicensed and uninsured vehicles. We also look at our community meetings. We go to various places and we meet, we have discussions. This is just one of our wider community meetings where we meet here this evening and have a discussion. And then we have meeting with social groups, football clubs, and whatever groups are out there. You invite the police to speak on various topics. We do that. And we have our school liaison officers. We now attending to the schools and listening to problems because we realize that at an early age, children are being put in a particular bracket, and some people can say, okay, I can see this person can be a potential criminal, so let us have that intervention right now. There are some parents, we know that they do not like the idea of their child being branded as a potential disruptor to society. So they take offense. What we are saying, look at it very carefully and lend support to prevent your child from becoming a perpetrator or a victim. We have look at it wherein all these are just part of the philosophy of community policing, and we are doing many more in order to do that. So we are therefore seeking the support of the community. We do hope that in reaching out to the community reach back as well. Not just we're going to stretch a hand and our hand stays stretching out there, no one touching it. That's how we build a bridge. We don't want to have the Grand Canyon. We just want to build a bridge. And the community must understand that the police is one of their biggest friends and partners. And in order to curb crime or to reduce crime, so therefore the community must have that partnership to facilitate the overall objective of our goal of the country, which is to be a safe place where we can live, enjoy everything, do business, and visitors can come and join us as well in this friendly atmosphere. So I just want to say in my opening that this is what we are presenting, and we will hope that from this evening, we know we have the continued support from the community regarding reducing crime and preventing crime.
Very well. Let me ask Pastor Josiah, how often do you collaborate or coordinate, or both, with Ms. Maloney's organization?
Well,
Pastor and community development. Collaboration and coordination between the church and your organization. In my view, the church is critically important in the upbringing and the moral guiding of our community, beginning with the children or the young. I know how that has guided me, not only then, but still. I go to church all the time. I was in church on Sunday last. Sunday last? Yes. Today is Tuesday. I had just got to back
Sure.
check, but yes, I'm certain. But you see, I go to two of our churches, depending on timing.
Got you.
I'm late to going to church, and people sometimes criticize me simply because, oh, you get to Vonnegut at 8 o'clock, and you come to church maybe an hour late or half an hour later, the case might be. But when I do go to that church and I get there late, I would go to the other church. So I get a church and a half. So you tell them I get more than all of you. I get
That's
a church
right.
and a half. So how do, if in fact your two organizations have coordinated and collaborated with reference to the youth upbringing, Christianity, you name it?
In terms of collaboration with the churches, I think there's a lot more room for improvement. The churches tend to stay in their own corner and probably brighten it. As the song say, brighten the corner where you are, so they probably brighten their corner by dealing the youths. But in my opinion, sometime in isolation, and I think there is a lot more that we can do. That's why the department would have, over the past 2 years, well, last year was the first to introduce Gospel Explosion, which is an event for the Christian community, and it should be taking place on the 1st of June. And it gives us the opportunity to work more closely with the churches and to rally around the youth to be a part of Gospel Explosion in trying to get them to participate, whether in the dance competition or the song competition, and also to attend the gospel concert. But in terms of working together, there's a lot more work to be done in that regard.
All right, let me just say also, while that may be the case, the church, and well, speaking in general, the church does its parts from the grassroots up. As you know, many persons would have been impacted at some point in their life by church. And if you ask the average person on the street, do you have a religious background? They will tell you yes. What has that religious background done for you? And they will go on to list several things, kept them out of harm's way, out of a bad situation. They're not hooked on drugs as a result of their Christian education and their upbringing. Now, the collaboration Ms. Maloney is talking about, it can happen, and it needs to happen, I rather suspect, on a larger basis. But that comes through collaboration. And the church would have already gone out and done several things on its own that would impact not only its own members, but other persons as well. Take, for instance, well, my church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, can't speak for any others because I'm not too familiar with their practice. But I won't go out on a limb to represent them either. But the Seventh-day Adventist Church holds within its ambit the community services ministry. That is a ministry to the community, whether you're Christian, Seventh-day Adventist, yes or no. We look out for the welfare of persons in our immediate community. So all the churches on the island, the Adventist churches on the island, they have their community services society that look out for individuals in that community, be it the old, the marginalized, the shut-ins. We have prison ministry. So after Superintendent David locks them up, having been caught, we now go into the prisons to help bring about reformation. Because when a person would have committed a crime and gone to prison, is that the end of it? Justice has been served, yes, but what about the transformation of that individual to ensure that when they are released, if they're released, they do not continue these kinds of acts? And so the church can collaborate more, but I dare venture out to say that the church has been doing so much, but sometimes we are not really on the spotlight, so to speak. And I think we like it that way as well.
Well, the Christian Council and the Evangelical Association, those are the two arms, and I am venturing to say that your church, the Seventh-day Adventist, should be and must be a part of that. And when you, in fact, I think, throw a little dagger at them that, well, you're not so sure what they do, but having meetings with the Evangelical Association and the Christian Council, which again I'm assuming that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is a part, how do you exchange ideas as to how to shepherd the flock?
Well, when it comes to the Christian
Unless
Association,
you're in there.
when it comes to the Christian Association, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, as far as I know, we would have been invited in the past. But since I got to Nevis, I have not received such invitation. Well, most of you would gather I'm still fairly new to Nevis. I've been here roughly about 4 years. Some may say that's a long time. But with the Christian Council, I have not been to any of the meetings, unfortunately. I don't recall receiving a communication. So if persons out there, I'm willing to be a part of, to help share, just send me an invitation and I'm right there. I'm not sure of my predecessors. I believe they would have attended. I believe Pastor Orville Joseph would have been here for some time. Pastor Andrew Gardner would have been here for some time also, and Jerry Lando most recently. But I have had not that opportunity to this point.
Well, life is a two-way street usually, and one hand goes forward and the other comes toward to meeting each other. And I'm saying if they have not reached out, it is incumbent upon you or your church to reach them. Because again, it is critically important for us to steer our communities in the right direction, because it ultimately be better for all of us
Definitely.
in terms of where and how we're going to live. So, what are your plans in that regard?
Well, in that regard,
4 years is a long time.
well, yeah, it's a long time. But as I have been saying, it's not just 4 years in isolation. We have been doing our part. Whether we have been collaborating with other persons to do that may be the question that you'd want to ask. Now, the Christian Council, as it is, like I said, I don't have much information on that. But for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, it's not just Nevis, it's not just St. Kitts. We're a global church. So when you talk about disaster relief, we have the Adventist Disaster Relief Association that functions worldwide. And so it might seem as if we're, by ourselves out on a limb somewhere, but that's not the case. We're more integrated than you think.
Well, I know there has been a tremendous growth in religion, places on Nevis. When I grew up, we had the Catholic, the Anglican, the Methodist, Church of God of Prophecy, but now seemingly there has been a massive explosion with reference to the church, churches, membership. So you people operating in isolation with reference to attempting to keep your membership and to prevent the growth of the membership of other organizations as a result of not getting the Christian Council and the Evangelical Association together. What I'm saying to you is that, in my view, this is the bedrock of religion with reference to those two organizations. I do not know exactly how they are comprised, but if they are the bedrock, in my view, then information can be disseminated to all the other churches as to how we go forward as an umbrella organization. And that is the point I'm trying to drive home, rather than a fellow goes to his church this morning, Sunday morning or Saturday morning, and he looks at the number of members and may have figured out a few may have strayed. Of course, the Seventh-day Adventist people, they don't really stray, simply because of ironclad situation you got with reference to the preachings and teachings of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. But the other churches at Sunday worshippers, I could see an explosion in that regard, and quite a number of members from one church have gone to other churches. Same God. But I'm going to throw this back at you. Those two organizations, in my view, should be the umbrella organization or the foundation in our community where you share information. How do we do things better to bring all the churches together, working on the same page for the betterment of our community?
Well, there's one word: collaboration.
All right. Well, Mrs. Powell, you are here again, and let me throw the bridge at you.
Okay.
Don't be fearful. The thing is that I look at the development of St. Kitts Nevis as a critical aspect of our going upward and onward. And what I can think of with reference to reducing time of going between St. Kitts and Nevis, and in that regard, I see this as a factor. And I lived abroad for 24 years, and every time I came home, I kept saying, it would be nice to have a bridge between St. Kitts and Nevis. But I remember reading in National Geographic that these two islands were joined together. And if you were to look between the two islands, there's a rock, and maybe there are two rocks, and they call them the cow and the calf. And if you were to go back in time, as that article stated, these two islands were joined together physically. But as the ocean rose, the narrows came. But in that area, in the St. James area, St. Thomas's area, St. Thomas's, it's a nice place to put a bridge. Have you ever had any discussion in your organization regarding a bridge between St. Kitts and Nevis and as to where?
I don't believe we have discussed having the bridge. On a personal level, I see pros and cons. And my personal position is that I will leave it to people who have been here forever
You're passing the buck.
to make
Go
the
ahead.
decision. Well, I will say, I have been told that crime increased when the Sea Bridge went into operation. So would crime increase with a bridge? That's a negative. The ease of getting to St. Kitts, cutting the travel time and the cost, that's a positive. So there are pros and cons. And I have not settled on a position as yet.
Well, from a civil engineering point of view, if it were to come about, that the narrows would be expanded not in terms of water, but by landfill, land reclamation, and therefore we would make that area between St. Kitts and Nevis maybe a hub of commerce. So, but I understood that your organization, the Historical and Conservation Society, may have given some negative with reference to bringing the bridge. Just as do you know where Cliff Dwellers?
Yes,
Cliff Dwellers.
yes.
There is that low-lying area right there. Nice spot to bring the bridge in coming from the Southeast Peninsula.
I'm sorry, when you said organization, I thought you were referring to the Foundation for Social Concerns, not the Historical Society.
Well, you're part of the...
Historical Society, yes.
Okay.
But as I said, we are not part of the formulating of policy or anything like that. We are supportive of the museum and the like Coconut Walk, saving and restoring to some degree historical sites. This would be my
Well, I know your
focus.
function. I know your function because, like I said, I've been part of the organization for quite some time. It's been a long time since I've attended meetings, but my busy schedule sometimes prevents me from attending and sharing. Of course, at one point somebody told me I should be head of the organization, but I again, been very, very busy. Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Rotary, and I backed away from all that. Even today somebody asked me to be on a board, and I said I would only do that to bring about nimbility. Of course, Might be the first time you're hearing the word. It might be coined and put in the dictionary at some point in time. But because of NIMBILI, I told him I will serve to get things off the ground. But I don't want to be on any boards. I don't want to be a part of anything more than my own little organization to keep my feet nimbly moving. Ms. Maloney, you mentioned about the 1st of June and this explosion. Is it a church, children, participation?
It's the gospel explosion taking place on Saturday, the 1st of June, 2019. The Cultural Village, 7 p.m. sharp. And gospel explosion is what it is. The name says it all, explosion. It's a liturgical dance competition and a song competition. And then after that, it will feature 2 gospel artists, DJ Nicholas out of Jamaica and Positive out of Trinidad and Tobago. We are targeting the Christian community, but by extension the whole community, because I think everybody can come out and enjoy positive entertainment.
And be converted.
And be converted. It's a positivity concert. We have 8 young persons who will be taking part in the song competition, and I just want to, we have Eliezer Ramirez, we have Erlian, we have Devon Cornelius, we have Zenzili Kelly, we have Vinel Powell, we have Sinovia Vaughn, and they all will be competing in the gospel song competition. And then we have 5 groups: the Nipak Dancers, the Newcastle Wesleyan Holiness Church, the Jessup New Testament Church of God Dancers, the Bath New Testament Church of God Dancers, and they all will be competing in the liturgical dance competition. And it will be let me say, an awesome night. So I'm inviting the general public to come out and support these young people. I know what we have been saying is that a lot of time entertainment is skewed heavily on one side. We have Culturama, but religion is also part of our culture, and sometimes those youths are, well, we see them as being maybe static, or maybe they have the same amount of energy as those other youths who might be engaged in other cultural activity. Let's say for Culturama, they may not participate because of their religious belief, but they too would like to be entertained. They too like to go out and have fun, and so we are creating that opportunity for the Christian youth along with other youths to come and be a part of something wonderful.
Very well. We will take a break, and on the flip side of it, we will bring Superintendent Lyndon Davis. I've got a good question for him. We'll take a break.
From Queen City, Nevis, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, Vaughn Radio.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. They have got over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Oh, and remember, they are open all day Saturday to serve you better. Builders Paradise, located at CAP Southwell Industrial Park, St. Kitts. Call them today at 466-4938.
We are back, and I'd like to ask Superintendent Lyndon David, how does he feel about the Witness Protection Program? Good evening, caller, you on Let's Talk. Good evening, caller, you on Let's Talk. Please try again. Superintendent Lyndon David, that's the witness protection program is something that has been talked about by the Prime Minister, or I guess maybe the law enforcement community which you're a part. How do you see the implementation and in terms of its effectiveness on the criminal activity that we've been having? I mean, more or less the heinous crime, criminal activities.
Yes. Thank you very much. A very good question. I know that our society, we are very concerned about, especially in cases of murder and other high-profile cases where you want to see justice done for the victims and the victims' family and society as a whole. And then the main victim may either die or disappear, and we assume that he or she is dead, and then the perpetrator is back out again. And the question was, for many years, what can police and government do? We, for a number of years, we have been doing a number of things that would have contributed to witness protection. But witness protection basically will eventually cause a person to go to another country. Sometimes you have to change your identity. It's not easy, it's very expensive. And some people, they get isolated from friends and families. And some people return, and some people just get out of the program. So the program is one that I know a lot of study will be put into it. We know we had ACP Mitchell who traveled to discuss it in, I think, could have been Canada, but I know he did travel. And we have long discussions in it. So we want our community to support every initiative that the police, in collaboration with the government, because they're the ones who will have to spend the money. But we're looking at bringing justice to criminal activities. So we just want the community to be patient with the process and support it when it comes along. But in order to ensure that, let us assume a number of people do not like it, let us start speaking to our loved ones about stop committing crime. Crime not only hurt the loved ones, but the entire country. And history have shown, even right in the Caribbean, where countries had no, almost no economic activity because of businesses, cruise ships stopped pouring in, tourists stopped visiting the shores. So it makes it hard. And if we want to live that life that will see fun and the economy booming, we need to start to look at that. So the criminals too, even though you want to say you're going to make the quick bucks, do it the lawful way, and the country will not have to go through that painful process. But the Witness Protection Program, as mentioned earlier, it is something that we're working on to go through it in a more, how should I put it? In a much bigger way. So because it's still a work in progress, I wouldn't really say much on that. But it's something that we're working on, and it's good, but some persons may not like being in it.
All right. Mrs. Maloney, you and I had a talk at some point in the past regarding some of the young potential troublemakers. And the gentleman had been brought into sharp focus at that time of the conversation. He was brought in, came in from Canada.
You mean someone who came into...
Good evening. You're on Let's Talk.
I have one here for the superintendent of police.
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Yesterday, my name is Rodney Elliott. I'm going to come straight to the point. Yesterday, I went to a funeral at Government Road, right by the Adventist church. Yes, I was parked on the yellow line. I was in church. Mine, no, me one went on the yellow line, no, because, Charlie, everywhere in town, there's nowhere to park. I went to the funeral. I was right up in front. When are they sitting down, maybe halfway in the service, one of the people them who just like go on and give ticket when you park on a line, he come in and he tell me I must move my vehicle. It's on a yellow line. I said to him, where I am, I cannot move, and you put a ticket on my car and me pick up. When I finish, I go and pay for it. Me stayed in there until the service finished. When I come outside, everybody start, Rodney, Rodney. They got me to pick up, they got me to pick up. When me look, I said, pick up. All the other vehicles, them was still on the yellow line. So I walked down by the station because they tell me that Moon pick up, or me pick up. Moon pickup is a smaller pickup and mine. Moon, my truck is very big and heavy. People all out of Cotton Ground call me, tell me, Rodney, you pick up a bus from one end of the road to the next. He just beating up and down because they could not control the pickup. Right? When you're towing something, you got to get something that will really tow the thing instead to damage the person's vehicle. I left, I went by the station. I sit down right on the steps and I asked them, well, I saw Marva. Marva tell me, oh, Rodney, you been in the yellow line. I said, yeah, me been there on the yellow line, but not me one. Everybody went on the yellow line. Charlie, there's nowhere in town to park, even the yellow line gone nearly up by the hospital. When you go up by Navy Square, Queen, nearly gone up there. Everywhere you turn in town is yellow line, yellow line, yellow line. I'm a businesswoman. I just have to go bank. And if I got to go bank nowadays, Charlie, I can't drive in town. I have to park, left my vehicle at the restaurant and catch a bus go town. As a business person, everybody in the people just go banking on a Monday or sometime on a Tuesday. The police would not even give you a leverage to say, well, okay then, spend a 50 minutes an hour, that means you can't solve yourself. If I go to bank and leave it now, they all would be there. Right? So whenever you there's Stanley, what I have to do, I have to call Benwick Liebert. I could call Liam and tell him what I want him to do for me and what not. Come downstairs. When I reach the bank and leave it, I beg the girl, let me run in there and come back. Me can't go in the bank to do my own business now. And not me alone. And then yesterday, when I asked Marva said me pick up the Cotton Ground. He said, Marva, how come I could take up me pick up a Cotton Ground and people else one word here too? So why they should jump on me? But you see the police, they said, he keeps giving me tickets everywhere to me. I have no peace in town for the police. I don't know what I do to him. And when you go and you complain to them police saying, Kaki, they don't do nothing. They don't do anything. So I kept something and I went to Cotton. Marva tell me she's going to drop me over there. She said she's going to the bathroom. Marva never come out the bathroom. It was getting, sun was going down. And I left and I decided, okay then, I'm going to Cotton Ground. So I get a ride and I went to Cotton Ground. When I go meet the police, I tell the police. He said, Marva said me got to pay the money first. I called Marva myself. He said $300. I said I only had $150 with me. Tell Moon, who told me that? I said, tell Moon, meet me by the restaurant and let me give him the rest money. When me go up there, Sally, me want thing mash up. Me pick up then. All kind of thing happen to the pickup. So me tell the police, well, I am going with me pickup. So me went to the pickup and me went to the station. So when me went to the station, me I talk to the police and them. They're like, well, who are you talking to? You know what I mean? It's like you're not getting the response. I see the same superintendent David there. And he was going inside to work my office. I was sitting down. I said, Superintendent David, can I say something to you? Oh, I'm going upstairs. I have something to finish. So I must come. Me decide me not going up there because I was downstairs and he was downstairs already. And at least he could have listened to me. May he get angry and could vex with me now because it doesn't bother me. Then I decided, okay then, I see two inspectors in a car key up behind up the by the shed to the back of the police station. I went up there and I tell them what happened. I said, come and look at the pickup and you see how the pickup damage. And this me not had the pickup like a sir. They come, shut out, send one the officer and tell them, take the camera and take some pictures and whatnot and so at the pickup. Then he tell me, go back inside and make another report that they could write it. I went inside. Up to now, Charlie, up to today, nobody come and say nothing to me. Nobody come and say nothing. If I am going to town now, say now today is Monday. Everybody go look change the Monday time, maybe go banking, whatever. So as a business people, and you're going down, you go around by CDC down full out. You go all down by nearly down by Mamelou. Everybody's full out. There's nowhere to come. So what is for us? We must park. You mean left the place where you there until when the man and the fellas and then watch you, see where you're going, where you move and everything. And then what happened? And then now you coming tonight and talking about crime? Charlie, I want to know what my right is. Huh? So then no, and then listen, just to show you the mentality of the police then. They didn't just do that. They put a ticket on me pick up and still turn on and tow me truck. So me must pay for the ticket and still got to pay the $200 to tow the truck. This afternoon a lady called me, I went to see the vehicle. And man can take up the woman vehicle and talk all moon and tow the vehicle. And the woman vehicle cut out, Charlie. Cut out and can't move. These are the mentality of the police and them. And when the police and them will feel like we don't like them. It's not that we don't like them, but they're not doing the right thing. And then I'm working with the community. And the superintendent need to step down harder so he's in charge. And when he done it, he gonna get all of them and he gonna get the thing. Whenever you're in charge, you got to step up to the plate and you got to be in charge. So what me must go do now? Go pay the top truck and still pay the ticket and fix my vehicle? Nobody has said nothing to me. Nobody has tell me nothing. And I'm very angry. I'm angry with the police and them. So let me hear what he got to say now because he don't know the story.
Okay, Carla, I will speak to the part where when you came to the station. I believe that it would have been prudent to discuss a matter like that in the office. So if you were told to come to the office to have a discussion where we can sit down and discuss more, it would have been just polite and more respectful to come to the office when you would not vent certain things in the public, and that's what the police do. We prefer not to have certain things that, if it can be reached before the court, you don't have these things before the court. I mean, in the public domain, it can hamper the course of justice. Regarding the ticket and the vehicle and towing, it is possible and permissible by law that you can be ticketed and removed, the vehicle removed to a safe area by an authorized towing agency. So if you because the violation remains. So if you were told to come and move the vehicle, instead of leave it there until the service finished, because another ticket could have gone it again. But to demonstrate that the police has the authority, supported by the law, you ticket it and you move it. Now regarding the other vehicles, if what you're saying, well, all the vehicles should be ticketed, but I still have to look at it and hear what the officers have to say, because you're saying one thing, the officers can say another thing. So I will not really go down that road until I get the complete facts. In terms of damage to your vehicle, you already made a report. We'll look at it and see what happens, and we will just take the necessary courses of action in order to address your circumstance. But what I would like to encourage everyone in the Federation to adhere with the laws of the land. Yes, you may have an issue with a police officer. That does not necessarily say that the officer has something against you. And if the police officer is acting out of context, respectfully, draw it to his attention if you think you are aware, familiar with that particular section of the law, so the officer can be aware. And you can call a senior officer one time, and you call the name of an officer, yeah? But if you do not know his name, ask, look here, what is your name, what is your rank? But some of these are visible, so you don't have to ask for the rank. The force number is right there in the uniform, you can see it there. Maybe if you do not know, you ask which station. So when you're going to report to a senior officer, we know we have a clear identification, an idea. And I will not be the one who will investigate a matter against the police, but we have our Office of Professional Standards, and that will refer to that department who will carry out the investigation, and disciplinary action will be taken once the investigation reveals that the officer would have infringed some disciplinary matter. And also, too, there could be criminal charges. But like I said, the matter will have to be investigated once you reported it. So just give us some time to investigate your report, and I do believe that whatever the results be, the appropriate course of action will be taken. So thanks for your call, caller, and you can also see me offline if you so wish.
Thank you, officer. Thank you. Super. Yes. Now on the matter of the collaboration between Ms. Maloney, please hold your fire. Good evening, you all. Let's talk.
He did not answer the part when I asked about when you're going to turn to the business. If I'm going to turn and I'm going to the bank, Charlie, driving condom, driving all over the place, Charlie, all over is yellow light. All over is yellow light. What must I do?
Okay, Carla, what I will say to you is that we cannot be partial. We have to be impartial. So if there's a yellow line permits a person to offload or unload, not to go into business. So if you have a disability and you indicate that to the police officer, he or she, or even the traffic warden, and they may use a discretion, they may, but remember too, that area of road where you're speaking of, right by the banks, once you park there, you have a narrowing of the road, and it's a 2-lane. And therefore, you will have persons who have to veer off of that vehicle, and in so doing, you can cause an accident. And I know there are 2 pedestrian crossing there. Persons park on the pedestrian crossing. In my book, I will not be lenient on someone park on a crossing. It's made for pedestrians. And if someone attempt to cross and get struck, you are at fault for that person to be struck in the first place, because you prevent an obstacle for the person to see clearly the oncoming traffic. So I will say to you, until government decides they're going to put some sort of parking lot somewhere in town, you have to adhere with the law. And I know they're currently discussing park your vehicle elsewhere, and some maybe you have motorbikes or a shuttle come and take you into Charlestown. But we have seen where the vehicle population has increased. But I'm saying to you, for the time being, I understand what you're saying, but best to comply with the instruction of the uniform officer when you are wrong. You know, you cannot be wrong and strong. So if the yellow line is there, please comply with the yellow line.
I said it, I was wrong, but it wasn't me alone. The other morning I come down and I was going to Main Street to pick up some stuff from Main Street. The police, the thing come down. Miss Elliott, you're not supposed to park there. I said, okay, sit back and then take a minute for me then. They're going and go watch me and laugh and think. So when we going to take up, go in there and shop and take up this, if I left and I going to Main Street to shop, where should I park my vehicle in, Superintendent?
Well, I will say this to you. I would say the next available legal parking area. So you will have to probably drive around a bit. I know there are more people like you who will say the same thing, but we have to look at it. Without the enforcement of the law, we'll have chaos in town. And the police and the traffic wardens are there to ensure that order is maintained. So we have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is to make sure that the roads are passable by pedestrian and vehicle alike. And we're looking for adherence of the laws. And I do believe that, and most of the time the police officers will try to be professional, but there are some that really will go off course. And those who go off course I am very much so concerned about. But those who are sticking to it, what is required of them, the best practices, well, we have to commend them for the work. You know, but those that go off course, well, we cannot commend them for that. We'll have to re-educate and ensure that they get it right. But I want to thank you for the concern, but
You tell me so when you can't you vex with me. So don't tell me that. I know you.
so
I know your voice well.
so we will talk about this. But I just want to let you and the general population understand that.
So then you want to tell me then, Superintendent, are those people on Main Street who are on the street selling, do they have a right?
The Main Street?
Yes.
Oh, but I'm glad you mentioned that. I want to commend those persons who continue to cooperate with the instruction given by the piece of legislation from the island administration. So what the Premier had said, look here, Fridays we will accommodate and Saturday. So we will see the persons are there on the Fridays, and you see throughout the week you don't have that vending as you could see, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank them for continuing supporting and adhering to the piece of legislation and don't get themselves in trouble. And for them to do that, they have to write to the Premier's ministry to get that license to vend. That's the part of the law that they have to follow. So we're just there to ensure that the laws are followed, and we do not make the laws. So in terms of making a law, that's not for us. We're just there to enforce And if someone believes it's unconstitutional, it's not for us, the police, to say it is. You have to take it to court, and the court will make a decision on that. So until then, we have to enforce, and person will have to comply. So I just want to encourage you. I understand your frustration and your concern, but let us look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that the law was broken, and the police decided I will use the authority of the law that was given to me.
But David, my problem is that they know that the pickup, that Tommy truck, the Nomi truck is so heavy and big. Why should he be taxing my pickup up and down the street?
Well, that like I said earlier, we will have to look at that concern that you have, and then take the appropriate action. But I cannot answer you why it happened. But I can answer you that
Listen to me.
you made a report, so we'll look at it.
I'll hold you to you. I don't know, David, that you know me well.
Okay, caller, I think we got the point, and I think Super has adjudicated based on what he knows regarding the law. Good evening, caller. You on Let's Talk.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A question for the officer there.
Could you please turn your radio down? We're getting a feedback.
Okay, hold 1 second, please. Yes, hello?
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Yes, my question, how does the traffic department determine where to put yellow lines on the road? I mean, do you do any consultation with anybody who did traffic studies, the public works department, or anybody like that? Because it appears that the traffic department will just get up one morning and decide, well, okay, I'm going to put a yellow line here, no parking on this line or something like that. So how does the traffic department determine where to put yellow lines in the roads? Thanks.
In simple context, I will put it this way. The traffic department or the licensing authority has that responsibility of road safety. And when they carry out the analysis and they realize this area can be a danger for pedestrian and motorists, they'll put restrictions in the area. So that's the determination they make. So I do hope that you understand that sometimes it may appear to you that it might not be appropriate to put, but once the traffic department put markings, the markings are going there. Sometimes you may have the, if the public works from the road division having done a road and they put a marking, I think there will be some discussions with the traffic department as well, because they have to have that dialogue, because the traffic police deals with safety, road safety. So if something is down and we consider it not to be safe, it can be removed. And I know in St. Kitts we have had, as a result of the stoplights, we have had to change signs down there. One of the things I'm looking for, and I hope that we can have it work in Charlestown, where there are some areas you have a time limit to park. In St. Kitts, you go down on 4th Street, you park within certain hours of the day. And you have, I think it's 30 minutes in one spot. So, I mean, as we progress in terms of development, there are a lot of challenges, and we just have to find ways to deal with them. So, I want to thank you very much, Carl, and I do hope that what I said would have bring some relief to your concern.
Thank you. Caller, you on Let's Talk? Good evening, caller. Good evening, caller. You on Let's Talk? Please call back. We'll take a break.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. They have got over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Oh, and remember, they are open all day Saturday to serve you better. Builders Paradise, located at CAP Southwell Industrial Park, St. Kitts. Call them today at 466-4938.
St. Kitts. Keep it sweet. Keep listening to Vaughn.
We're getting better there.
Yes, we are back. Good evening, caller. You on Let's Talk?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Is this segment about traffic issues?
Well, not really, but Superintendent Lyndon David is here, and it's community development, and of course, the traffic is a critical part of our movement and development. And while he's here, it is good to get his adjudication on certain matters that are within the law. So if you have a quick question.
Yes. I have a question / concern. I've noticed that there are a few, I'm using the word a few, maybe there are many, four-way stops around the island, and there are absolutely no stop sign. Now, I know local knowledge is important, and the local drivers would know the areas much better than visitors, tourists, or people who might be just passing through for maybe just a day. But the fact is, they are using the road. So if I'm approaching a four-way and there are no stop signs, how do I know who should stop? Now, if I am aware that it's a four-way, I will stop. But the fact is, some of the times, the tourists would only realize that it's a four-way when they either already gone past or just as they are approaching. I can tell you where one is. It's to the top of Kodak Road, where what they call it, the bypass, the Kodak Road. There are no stop signs.
Okay, caller.
That road is under repair.
I want to thank you very much for that, but I want to draw something to your attention. Major road and minor road. So in the event that there is no stop sign, you have to be cognizant that the major road take precedence.
How do I know?
So
which one is the
you spoke of the bypass road,
Hold on,
Kodak Road.
Hold on, officer.
Yes.
If I am a visitor, if I am a tourist,
Yes.
how do I know which road is the major road?
Okay, I was just about to answer you, but so the major road in terms of the bypass road is the major road.
But how do I know?
Wait. Now, there are no signs, and it happens to local as well. So I wouldn't say tourists. It happens to local. These things happen because of lack of knowledge of road discipline and road, the principle of the road. However, having said that now, I will then inform traffic department so we can start to look at that to let people know where a stop sign is. So if you're going to turn, so if you're coming in from the bypass road, right, and you only can turn either left or right onto Kodak Road. But if you're coming from Kodak Road, you have to go straight out and turn. So if you're speaking of coming out of Kodak Road, then you may need a stop sign. That can work. But because the road is currently under repairs, and there might not be a sign, there might have been a marking in the road, but not a sign. And if they're repairing the road, well, obviously it appears that there is no traffic signage and markings. But I believe once that is finished, there will be the proper signage, either marking in the road or a sign to indicate what you're supposed to do.
Officer, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How long was the bypass road constructed.
Well, it does not matter, you know. It's what is the principal road.
But I'm asking a question. Just can you tell me how long has the bypass road been constructed?
I do not know
10 years. Arbitrarily, 10 years.
I think it's over 5 years, right?
Right.
So you're going to tell me that for the last 5 years, no one in traffic department or even a police officer would have noticed that there are no stop signs in that area, plus others?
So what I'm
No.
saying to you, caller, we want to thank you. So what you can do,
Yeah.
well, you now tell me of Craddock Road. You brought that to my attention.
And there are more.
Right. So if
And
you,
okay, go ahead.
so if you can then assist us in, that's what we're speaking about, collaboration and partnership. So we are here with organizations, and we know with an individual happen to be you. So you can partner with us to point these out, because it could be people knock them down or pull them up or break them off, or it could be none was there at all. But now you highlighted it. Partner with us so we can have them rectified. How that sounds?
You're asking me to partner with the police to have it rectified?
That's what the community policing is all about. Community
Okay,
and police working together to make your country safer. So you are there to make the roads safer. So don't you see that is part of your responsibility, civic responsibility, to assist in these areas?
I am trying to understand exactly what you want of me.
No, you highlighted a problem.
Right.
So you can assist us. Since we are not aware what you're speaking of, you can come into the office
Right.
and let us know, and we will rectify it.
Okay. Do you work at the Charleston police station?
Certainly do, yes.
Are you aware that the officers, especially in the traffic department, are not that much friendly? They are not approachable?
Well, I'm telling you, you can come to me, even you think. But we'll deal with the traffic signs, though. But I'm saying that come to my office, the superintendent, and give me the names of the areas, and we will have it rectified.
Okay. I'm going to give you a light moment. What about if I rejoin the police force? This is an ex-police officer talking.
If you rejoin the force? Well, I will say that they will have to. Well, it will be good if you have the age with you. If you pass a certain age, you know, it will be difficult. But being an ex-police officer and the length of time you might have been away from the force, well, the commissioner and the minister responsible can consider and take you back.
I'm not going to keep it long, but did you just mention age?
Yeah, age.
So you're going to discriminate someone because of their age?
Well, you see, age has a factor based on certain things you have to do. For example, if I want to be a fighter pilot, I can't be more than a particular age, and otherwise the blood pressure, everything going to kill you in the air.
Okay.
So to be a police
One last
officer,
question.
you can't take the rigorous training. I'm 50, 60. I'm going to die on the track.
Yeah,
I can't lift my legs up.
One last question, and I'm going to let you go.
Yes.
What about my weight? Is
Your what?
my weight a consideration? Weight. If I'm 300 pounds, is that okay?
That could get burned off, you know.
Okay, I guess you know where I'm coming from. Anyhow, good night, sir.
Okay, good night.
Okay.
Thank you for the call. Mrs. Melonia was asking about a collaborative effort you and I spoke of regarding a specialist and the effort you have put out regarding some of the truant boys. How is that part of our community development program going?
Well, concerning that, Dr. Calvin will be better known as Prodigal Son. He did come on the 1st of April, and he was here until the 5th of April, and he would have had session with some of the youngsters in the community, and I think that was quite effective, and I'm just hoping that there will be some major changes in terms of some of their lifestyle, and that they would move towards more positivity. That's how I'll put it in a nutshell. And I'm trying to be politically correct here and not to use certain terms when it comes to, because it can be termed as labeling. And I'm trying not to label But the persons who would have been in the session, I think they would have benefited greatly from the session with Prodigal Son. And I'm just hoping the viewers out there would realize that tonight we are really looking at community responsiveness to societal issues.
Please hold your fire. Good evening, you're on Let's Talk.
Good evening, Mr. Stanley.
Good evening,
Would
caller.
the officers look at the entrance to Rams on the Main Island Road? I believe there is a stop sign, a bus stop sign, right on the zebra crossing. Can you state whether that is permissible or not to have a bus stop on a zebra crossing? Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
A bus stop and a
By
zebra
Rams?
crossing.
By Rams, I think he mentioned.
Oh, okay. I have to look at that. But vehicles should not stop on the pedestrian crossing. Vehicles should not stop on a pedestrian crossing. Normally there is a line, a white line before or after, and that indicates to you your distance from the pedestrian crossing. So if someone sees that line and goes beyond it, for now I would say you did not know. But now I'm saying that you should not go between the crossing and that line. It should be about 15 feet. So you should stay behind that line and put off your passengers and then go your way. But not on the crossing.
Very well. Mrs. Maloney, please continue.
Yes, tonight we really want to look at community responsiveness to societal issues, and I realize that trafficking seems to be a social issue that we are discussing. But I'm just appealing to the community members who are out there listening, if you can bring any other issues forward that and to talk about how you think that the Nivajan community is responding to crime and violence or whatever other issue that you think. We'll be happy to hear you before we close off at 10.
But we still have some time left.
Yes.
We still have some time left.
But
Go right ahead.
Mr. Stanley, like I mentioned before, the sessions, I think it was they were worth the while, and I'm looking forward to some positivity coming out of those sessions.
Please hold your fire again. Good evening, caller. You on Let's Talk?
Yes, Mr. Stanley. The officers said that the two lines, but will he have a look at the location? I complained or brought it to the notice of the police officer. I think Mr. Myers, Inspector Myers, said that he would go and look, but he hasn't told me what he found. But I know that there is a bus stop right on the zebra crossing, and but buses are putting down their passengers there and keeping back the normal flow of traffic. The bus stop is, I think it is on the cemetery, one of the cemetery walls.
Okay.
Just immediately before you turn into Rams parking slot.
Okay.
So could you have a look at it?
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
All right. We are on this program this evening, and the real focus is on community responsiveness to society, social issues. And I will allow Ms. Janet Maloney again to expound on it and to...
Okay, I just want to make mention of 5 strategies that community can use in mitigating against social issues, and one of them is to become an engaged citizen. And like the caller just said before, I would refer to that caller as an engaged citizen, seeing things and want to be proactive in getting those whatever traffic issues solved. Being an engaged citizen, it all begins there in mitigating against crime and violence, or in solving societal issues, and a community is only as good as the consistent engagement of its citizens in solving its own problem. And of all the strategies, and being an engaged citizen is the most important one. I just want to let you know it's imperative that citizens are engaged and in doing so act as a collective unit, establishing a powerful community identity which communicates that its people matter and that any and all community problems that limit the ability of the community to reach its full social and economic potential shall be met with a strong response from its citizens. And it's not about being reactive, it's about being proactive. Secondly, community vision, creative leadership, and strategic community action. As the old saying goes, a community with no vision shall perish. So it's for your community to have a vision. In context, a key to a community's ability to address its local challenges and remain or become economically and socially competitive is the realization that it must have a vision as to where that community wants to go. 3, progressive policy agenda which supports social and economic growth, and that is why the Department of Community Development has started to have community work at establishing community management teams or community councils that will aid in the decision-making process or aid in putting program within the respective community. Long and short, safe community for all citizens to thrive. It means that the mitigation, that was number 4. The mitigation of crime is not just the responsibility of the local government, because we all blame government and say government should solve the crime and government not doing this. But I just want you to know that the mitigation of crime is not just the responsibility of the government. It requires engaged citizens, businesses and local institutions and organizations working constantly to root out and affect change when it comes to dealing with crime. This requires the eradication of the combined element of the physical, social, and economical challenges which fuel crime. So you're in your community and you have to look at eradicating the elements that help to fuel crime. And 5, community of lifelong learners constantly adapting to change, meaning education is one of the world's greatest equalizers which support individual and communities in reaching their peak performance socially and economically. And in order for a community to be seen as a world class and a community that can adapt to change, all of its institutions, organization, businesses, and people must make access to quality education for all citizens. And that's the #1 priority. So we just can't sit back and become a couch potato or just stay in our house and talk about what is happening. We have to become an engaged citizen to fight against all the social ills that are now plaguing the Nivijan society.
Our national society.
Our national society.
Very well. We'll take a break, and then when we come back, we will bring Pastor Josiah in.
VON vibrates, the whole Caribbean must shake.
860 AM, the Powerhouse.
Yes, we are back. And in as much as we need our community to be mobilized and be going upward and onward, the critical component is the church. And hence, I would ask Pastor Josiah, how many people of his age, because he's quite a young, good-looking pastor, are in seminary now to fulfill the role of bringing in the sheaves or fishers of men?
That's a good question. From what I can tell right now, there are 2 persons I know who have applied and are waiting to be hired very soon. Incidentally, they're both in St. Kitts. One is from Antigua, he's now currently teaching at the school, and the other one is from St. Kitts. Currently at the college that we have in Trinidad, University of the Southern Caribbean, I know there are at least 4 or 5 from
Pastor
Antigua.
Joy, please hold your fire. Good evening, caller. You on Let's Talk?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. David and Miss Maloney.
Good evening, good evening.
How are you? I'm listening and I'm impressed with your presentation. But I would like for Miss Maloney to spend more time with the elderly. You know, she can go to the health centers, especially when they have diabetic clinics and so. The elderly have a thirst for community policing. See what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes.
When I was doing it, I was going to Combermere, Butlers, you name it. I never went to Jessup, nor Cotton Ground and Charlestown, but I used to go weekly to Combermere. Most of the old ladies have passed away, but those who left behind, they really like to see the police out, and you can give them good instruction, tell them how to look at themselves and the will and how to care themselves, you know, how to take away abuse from the children, the grown children, because sometimes all you have to do is give them a listening ear. So she could continue, and I will continue to listen and see how far she can go, but she must stress on social issues, not crime and violence. If she's doing community policing, she should not really go there with crime and violence. Let's go with social issues, because every community, as she said, know their own problem. It could be people stealing mangoes and becoming a problem. It could be dog barking. It could be monkeys. Or, you know what I mean? You can't solve all, but they're supposed to tell you what is bothering them. So this you can continue and give it the best shot. But look at the elderly. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for the call.
And that's former Inspector Carol Williams from St. Kitts. He's calling from St. Kitts.
Well, thank you, former Inspector Carol Williams, and I will do my best to try and visit the elderly. And of course, when we go out, we try to use the bottom-up approach rather than the top-down approach, and we do ask, even into inputting programs in the community, we try to liaise with the community and to find out what they will want for that community and to try to assist them in whatever we can. And I know you mentioned about stealing. Well, I know Pradale Larceny, as was mentioned in a discussion I had last week with Agriculture Department, and people stealing especially mangoes and vegetables and stuff like that. And that is something I would like people out there to call in and have your input in the discussion tonight about what is happening in terms of even people stealing your vegetables or your mangoes. And animals, people stealing people animals, and you mentioned about dogs barking. I guess it disturbs your sleep also. Well, I respect what you would have just said. That if that is a society, I don't know how we can work and getting the dogs to stop barking, but
the cock crowing, and the early morning when you hear them.
Yeah, when you hear that, right? So, well, thank you, and I'm happy to get your input, just to make us better at what we are doing.
Very Pastor Josiah?
Yeah, so just to continue, I would have mentioned that there are a few persons that we know of right now studying. For my congregation, one of them, Manning's Church, we have one person actually now in seminary who has completed his first year. So we expect him to complete the entire program in the next 3 years and shortly thereafter be in full-time ministry. The church also has, as a part of their training program, the Pathfinder Club for Children. And in that club, that curriculum also fosters the need to have more pastors, because we do what we call a preacher's proclamation for the young children. So as early as 10, they are placed in the pulpit to get the experience of preaching. They are mentored and they are taught the values of Scripture, and they have that influence, if they so feel inclined, that is there from the get-go.
This is the reason why I attempted to bring to the fore the collaborative effort of the Christian Council and
Absolutely.
the Evangelical Association. The thing is that even though you are of a particular denomination, if you push the idea of your Pathfinders Club, from which you would derive young preachers, pastors, as the case might be, they themselves, or the organization, the umbrella organization, might be able to mold, nurture, and assist and bring about more people in the church, not necessarily for their own denomination, but for the good of the community at large.
Definitely.
I mean, I at a very early age, wanted to be a pastor, but other things kept me. And I'm just saying to you that if there's a program that keeps harping at you, you'd stay on that straight and narrow and ultimately become a pastor. And I'll tell you, we don't have many people in the church committing criminal activities.
That's right.
And in that regard, based on my knowledge and my knowing what's going on there, I always advocated we should have more pastors even getting into the political arena.
Yes.
Because I think they are more inclined to be good people.
You know, if I might add, with the Pathfinder program, some of the listeners may be aware of this. In Jamaica, the Pathfinder program is being looked at to be implemented into the government schools because of the rate of success that they have been having in the churches. So it's open for collaboration. It's not to say it's ours, we're going to keep it, and nobody else can get a handle on it. If you're interested, you can come be a part of, and this is the good thing, you don't have to be a member of the church.
That's what I'm saying.
To be a part of the Pathfinder Club.
But
It's open to the community.
How has it been amplified to give the public the understanding that this is not exclusively a Seventh-day Adventist program, but it's a program to, in fact, guide the community?
Yes.
So,
how is it being amplified? You
well,
know,
no, what I'm attempting to tell you now, that from today going forward, you should reach out at the Christian Council and the Evangelical Association. Rather than they're not coming to you, you should go to them. Because young minds like yours must have the ideas. And from these ideas, organization will expand and grow.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, I've been whatever I am, and I've always been agitating for this and that, as the case might be. I mean, some people will say, well, who do you think you are? But I'm telling you, as a young, bright pastor, reach out to them, you'll be rewarded. History will reward you, your community will reward you, and we'll see the fruits of your labor. All right, we'll go back to Superintendent and then David.
Yes, sir.
The stop and search program, because these two ideas with reference to the witness program,
Witness protection.
witness protection program, and the stop and search, I'm going on it. Stop everybody, search everybody. That's how I feel. The fellow who commits a crime, especially a gun crime, I have more rights than he has. I have more rights than he has, and therefore, I have to attempt to find a way of protecting myself. So if you have to stop and search them, stop them and search them up, down, left, right, however you can, to make our community better. Could you comment on it, please?
Yes, sir. We know that our community currently is in a state of shock and awe, so to speak, due to the fact that for the past few years we have seen where gun violence has taken the lives of a good number of our young men. In the mix we would have had females. And we not only have gun, but we have other means of committing murder. But the one that is there right now and that is challenging society and have struck that fear factor is gun violence. But we realize also that gun violence was sort of centered among a particular groups who would have formed themselves some gangs, as we call them, and as a result you would have a little sort of a tit for tat in that. And society has cried out. We are saying, look, we want to reduce or eliminate that sort of activity. So therefore we have stepped up our operations. We have seen where we have had 3 different operations where we had the RSS came in on few occasions, or 2 occasions or something like that, and they helped us well. And we realized that a number of persons welcome it in our community, and we have seen where there was a drastic reduction. We have since moved on from Operation Reassurance, Enduring Safety, to Operation New Dawn. And New Dawn is where we're now pushing the philosophy of community policing, and that reaching out to say, okay, yes, we are saying to you that we understand your frustration, we are understanding your pain, we want you to also be a part of the solution. Stop and searches will continue. But what we're asking for persons, look at the bigger picture. Your safety and that of the community, we are looking forward for that. Some persons will feel uncomfortable, but we're saying just for now, allow us to make you feel much safer. And we hope that our community will appreciate the work of the police. I would like to say this too, once we also at it, is that once our young people stay away from crime, those who want to be a part of the police force, it will be easier for them to join the force. Because if you have a criminal record, you cannot be a member of the force. If you're involved in criminal activity but not caught, but we're aware of it, and society is aware of it, you cannot join. So we're saying to you, in order for you to stay on the straight and narrow and probably be employable, you have to avoid. I know currently we are pushing where even if a man or woman goes to prison, they come out and they show that they have reformed. Society or employers should give them that opportunity to reintegrate. But there are some employment you cannot enter. Police and military are one. For now, in St. Kitts and Nevis, once you have a criminal record, you cannot enter these organizations. Maybe nursing, maybe something else, and other places, but these disciplined bodies, for now, it's no. So we, the police, we would like them to join us, because we know there are a lot of young people out there who admire the work of the police and admire police. But we're saying the admiration is good. But then if you have a desire, but then you would have been to prison, or you're into criminal activities, the first thing the problem is you are with the thief people stuff. How come you're in the police force? Society, they're gonna degrade the police. So even though we would like to give a person a chance, we cannot do that because of how the system is in terms of the legal framework governing the police and the restraint society currently has when it comes to the police. I like to say, I said it to somebody today, people still respect the police. In all of what people are saying, people still respect the police. And we are so appreciative of that.
We will take a break.
From Queen City, Nevis, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, Vaughn Radio.
Yes, we are back. Good evening, caller. You on Let's Talk?
Hello.
Good evening, caller.
Good night.
Yes. Good night, good night.
Good night.
Alexa, oh, I ain't listening, right? But I just good night to Emma.
He's in Zurich, Germany, I believe. And I'm certain he's listening, so he has heard you. Miss Ruth Powell, of course, she chairs the Committee for Social Concerns, Foundation for Social Concerns, and being part of that organization, I believe quite a number of your members have direct connection to. So how often do you meet, and have you ever looked at the fact that the police might need vehicles from your department, from your end? Social concern is quite broad. That foundation is quite broad. And in the fact that the police always need something, vehicles, I'm certain Superintendent Lyndon David might.
Oh, as I said, our main focus is justice, seeing to it that both legal and social justice is available for every person. It is my opinion that the solution to the crime problem, or everyone has a part to play. Either you are part of the problem or you are part of the solution. Your part might be as simple as saying a kind word to a child, to a person who is having a bad day, something that may redirect the focus of their thoughts and where they are going. I had something else and I got sidetracked. Oh, you said about the police needing things. Well, we have provided one police officer with a super flashlight. This is this is an officer who befriended us when we first moved here. We are still friends with this officer, and I asked him what he needed. He said a flashlight. We got him a flashlight. We have aided the prison farm with some paint and brushes to finish their building that they built for our classroom that they built. Our problem is that we don't have funding. We are in process of looking for an office. We have asked the government to provide us with a building to have a physical office because an NGO, some grants are not available unless you actually have a physical office. So funding is an issue that we are looking for, and we try to meet once a month. That doesn't always happen, particularly during Culturama or December, but we do try.
So you were saying that if you given an office, you might be able to tap into some foundation or some money source.
That is possible.
So are you saying that you would like to talk to Premier Brantley?
I have
Prime
spoken.
Minister Timothy Harris?
I have spoken with Wakely Daniel, the permanent secretary, about this issue.
Good start. And you've got the superintendent here who has the ear of his commissioner.
Okay.
And I'm certain that Ms. Meloni, who is part of the Nevis Island administration in terms of her position, so you've got two persons here. Make your pitch.
Okay, my pitch is I need an office.
Ms. Maloney.
And once I have one, we have ideas for looking for. One of my things that I have talked about since before we moved here is a program that would aid elderly or poor homeowners with upkeep on their home, which could also be a program for apprenticeship for young people to learn skills, carpentry, painting, things like that. That's something I've talked about for probably 10 years, 8-10 years, and it's something that I would like to definitely would like to look for grant money for.
But there are many organizations which would have given grant money to the Historic and Conservation Society. The Mukti Fund, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Mukti Fund, but there are organizations in which money can be derived, and you've got some very talented people, influential people, knowledgeable people who truly have an idea where these and what these organizations are about. So maybe leverage what you've got, attempt to make a bridge to the Historic and Conservation Society and see how funding could be garnered through your foundation and ultimately to help the police and our community development program.
The acting director of the Historical Society is a member of Foundations for Social Concerns. So she is aware of grant procedures and such. But as I say, we probably need to find ourselves an actual office, which I would also be willing to share with other groups that find themselves in a similar situation.
All right, well, when you leave here, I guess I must employ you to hit the ground tomorrow. Hit the ground running. 'Cause I'm certain that the police can do with a lot of things. And Superintendent David, please collaborate.
Will do. Yes, yes.
Ms. Meloni, there is the Community Development Day. This is Community Development Month. Do we have a court? Which day would that be celebrated on?
Community Development Day will be celebrated on the 31st of this month on a Friday, and it will be done in collaboration with Agriculture Department for the Pork Festival and also the One Love Rastafari movement. They will also be joining us as a continuation of African Liberation Day celebration. That afternoon we should be having a promotion or pre-show sort of before the actual gospel explosion that will be taking place on the Saturday, where the artist should be in town around 5 to 6, and we'll have happy hour. Tickets will be sold at a cheaper price or cheaper rate, and probably a mini concert, and the Rastafari movement will also be having their thing going on there. A little concert as well. On sale will be, it's Pork Festival, but we also have the other booths that will sell other food for those persons who may not eat pork. You have the vegetable, you have the ital and the vegetarian dishes, so you have a mixture, and then we have some traditional food on sale as well, like cornmeal and fish and dumpling and maybe corn pork, sorry. Liver, and so it will be a joyous occasion, and we also inviting members of the community, various communities that are entrepreneurs, to be there and to have their goods on sale. So I am inviting the general public to come. There's be something for everyone, vegetable, pork, and clothing, craft, music and dance, so everyone can come and be a part of it. All inclusive.
Okay, we just have half a minute. Who wants to go with the last word? Pastor Josiah, Superintendent, David?
I want to thank the panelists for allowing me to give you the last word. Crime and violence is really a serious matter in our federation, and we are so thankful that we can partner with some good organizations, some good people. Because I'm saying that without people, the organizations are dead. There'll be no organization.
Very well.
We have to look at our country and look for its best interests. So, in terms of our community policing philosophy and the partnership that we've fostered here, we just want to let people know that in order to solve crime and prevent crime, partnership is important. So we want to thank you very much, and we hope to see you someday soon.
Very well. Well, good evening, and we glad that you listened, and we thank the callers who called. And remember, this show repeats tomorrow at 10, and tomorrow, beginning at 8 p.m., the Honorable Mark Brantley will be here with his On the Mark program. Thank you for listening, and have a good evening.
Opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.